Let me just see if I'm even going here. Alrighty, let me do a little search menu. See if I'm on here. Oh gosh, there we go. Let's just make sure I can see this in the. Let me just see if I'm even going. The chat. So hello everybody. And forgive me, I didn't plan on doing this tonight. I just thought, well, it's pretty spontaneous. It's pretty amazing what's happening. I'm not sure who's been paying attention. If I come over, let's see, I appreciate your patience here. Can you guys hear me okay? Events are unfolding, and so forgive me for being all over the place. I wasn't prepared to come on. I thought, hey, Watchman for you, Eva, Michael, Set. I thought, man, it is going down. Now, I'm not sure who caught or who was able, I should say, to, if I go over my channel here, hold on. You guys got my community page statement that I had made today. I'll just come over to Twitter and leave it here. If you guys saw what I had posted about Donald Trump today, I had no idea that actually all this was going to go down. So again, forgive me for being a little scramble-minded here, but looks like social media has all but banned Donald Trump from social media. And it is extraordinary. I did a community post today, and I was talking about, even more in a disappointing way, how Donald Trump has, in the last 4 years, we have watched this man get, forgive me for using this language, but he's gotten the crap kicked out of him for the last 4 years of some of the most egregious, illegal things that have been done to him. And I always stood in amazement because Donald Trump has never, ever fought back. And that's, of course, always been troubling for me because even though, for the most part, and I don't know how much he's into it, I have to think that this guy's in on all this because this guy has been plagued with, illegal dossiers, manufactured lies, provable in public, out in the open, without any shame, without even trying to hide it. The brutality, if you believe this is real, the brutality that this guy has endured for the last 4 years has been amazing. And all of it illegal, virtually all of it illegal. But the one thing even more amazing about that is that this guy never fought back. He never brought anybody, never subpoenaed anybody, never prosecuted anybody, even though the dossier was fake. They literally accused the president of the United States of being a Russian agent with no evidence, with made up evidence. And nobody was ever prosecuted. Nobody was ever brought to justice. And while the Dems and the left have done all this for the last 4 years illegally and quite in great deceit, he never fought back. And so I always wondered, well, why isn't this guy fighting back? Now, we know that Trump, before the zombie virus hit, we had the best economy we were at, the highest stock market, the GDP blowing through the stratosphere, the lowest African-American unemployment, the lowest Hispanic unemployment, the lowest unemployment. And things were cruising along swimmingly. Nobody is disputing that. But why wouldn't he fight back I mean, keeping in mind, this is the most powerful man on the face of the earth. And you've got these rodents, these liberal leftists clawing and attacking him, striking him. It's like watching an uncle just get the crap kicked out of him and not fight back. And I never understood it. Even claiming, for example, that Barack Obama had wiretapped him, but nobody was ever brought to justice. And so there is a lot of confusion. Look at this guy, Keith Olberman. Oh my gosh. If you guys can see this, I won't play it. For those of you that know who Keith Olberman or don't know who Keith Olberman is, he used to be a sportscaster on ESPN. And he has gone full-blown demonic leftist, God-hating, liberal spazoid who you can just see and feel absolute demons resonating through this guy. And he's on Twitter. Because I do follow Twitter. I like to keep up. Even though, most of it's the mainstream media, you should be aware as a watchman what's happening so that you can defend against it because it's happening in the world. And so I do watch the mainstream media, if not for a good chuckle, as they spew their propaganda day in and day out. He's like that old guy next door, he ever ran next door. The elderly guy next door who had an apple tree, and as a kid, you'd run over and try to snag an apple, and he'd come out, "Hey, you kids! Get off my property!" His lip is quivering and everything. These people hate Trump, and that's fine. But do you know why they continued and do continue to beat Trump? Because he doesn't fight back. Imagine if Trump was a boxer. This is what I equate this to. He's got the cardio, he's got, the training, he's got the talent, and he goes in and the opponent begins to beat him and he doesn't fight back. He doesn't punch back. And you're like, well, why? Why are you even there? Why didn't you ever fight back? Even right up until yesterday when they did the fake storming of the Capitol building in D.C. and they just opened the doors. I mean, there's videos. They opened the doors. They concocted this whole thing. It is theater. We watched theater yesterday because they had this planned out. They want to absolutely crucify, metaphorically speaking, Donald Trump. And what better way to end his presidency in absolute shame with a concocted event, which was probably more than likely infiltrated by pretenders, where they allowed a small portion of what they call a mob in, where they broke some windows, scattered some papers, and a person was even murdered. And why not? They wanted to attribute this and blame this all on Trump. And by golly, it's working, isn't it? Now they're talking about impeaching Trump for the second time. They're calling on him to resign or face a second impeachment. For the first time in the history of this country, a sitting president will have been impeached twice if they go through with it. Now, at this point, it's hard to say whether they're going to do this or not. But all kinds of things are happening, and it is amazing. The reason I had Twitter on there, I follow what's happening on Twitter. But what you're seeing is a genuine purge, because even for the political commentators, and again, a lot of them I follow. I even follow a couple of what could be deemed as enemies just to see what they're saying and what they're doing. I don't do a lot of posting on Twitter, but I like to get a feel of what's going on. And so what you've got are some of the big commentators. Again, not necessarily my favorites, but I do follow them to get a feel. They're just being purged of followers. Look at James Woods. Has testifies to have lost 85,000 followers. Now, do I care about James Wood? No. But again, this is exactly the reason you can get a feel for what's happening in the country. Kirstie Alley, again, do I follow her? No. But I subscribe because she's part of Hollywood, so I can get a feel for what they're saying. And that's why I'd like to keep track of what's going on. If nothing, just to get a feel for the propaganda. And so what you've got is testimony as Twitter and Facebook are going bananas, deleting hundreds of thousands of followers. And it also bears reporting because this is also going to come to YouTube, even for little tiny potatoes like me. And this is a sign of what's coming. I mean, Biden isn't even, not that Biden's a real president. We know that he's a puppet. We know that Kamala's a puppet. We know they're all puppets. But under this administration, this is what's coming. You're going to see the purge. This is basically the beginning of the purge. I honestly believe that. You know, in one breath, they'll tell you that they want unity, that, you know, it's time for the country to heal. And then in the next breath, you know, you've got like Biden calling half the country Nazis. And, you know, the people, you know, the Trump supporters, the Trump thugs that crashed the Capitol building. And they know darn well that they orchestrated all. It's so funny. If any of you, I'm not sure, maybe with a raise of hands, how many of you have read the book by Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals? And it's a communist tell-all, basically a book of strategy on how to, you know, implement communism, how to implement, you know, your desired socialistic government into a country, for the most part. And it's basically just go out there and do everything illegal. Accuse, lie, cheat, steal, do anything you can. And when you're caught red-handed, deny. You see it with the cancel culture also, what's happening. There's so many people that are afraid in this country because they're worried or afraid of just being canceled. We've actually seen people get canceled. But it's so, even if you go through Yahoo, and I know, like I said, most of it's junk. Again, I don't necessarily believe any of this. I keep tabs on it, even simply for just to, you know, to be alert as to what the liberal left is doing. These are the Satanists that are going to implement their satanic agenda on you and I very soon. And we need to be aware so that if there is an opportunity somehow to fight it or to come together and resist it, what is this guy? Look what the world does. This is, by the way, this is real. This is the result of really bad plastic surgery. I do apologize again. I'm unscripted, but I wanted to get on and talk about this because things are happening. When you ban what should be classified as the most powerful man on the face of the earth, when you ban him from all social media, man, that is incredible. Regardless of whether you believe it or not, it really is true, because if they can ban the president of the United States from social media, well, what does that mean for you and I? Yeah, it's going to come. Our time is limited here as to, you know, how long before they actually take all of us down. And at any given chance, I mean, this is moving so fast. that I was actually alarmed and wanted to get on. I don't think I've ever done a Friday night, live stream, especially spontaneous. This was the girl who was, one thing I thought of as when you recognize how they want to divide us all. If you've seen the video clip of this lady who was accusing an African-American father and son. It was the son, but he was with his father. She lost her phone and accused the black kid of stealing her phone. And so, of course, they're blasting it. And there's video of it, and they're blasting it all over the news. And look, it's more racism, more racism. And even though there was never any racist, and again, this is such a touchy subject, but even though there was never any racial name calling or anything like that, it's as simple. It comes down to that even today, they've got this country so divided on race that if they videotape a white person even confronting a black person, it's automatically racism. And so I started thinking, and even with some of my black friends, I haven't talked to them yet, but I thought, well, how do you talk about this? It's such a sensitive subject. Is there ever a situation where you can, have a conflict with a black person or with a Mexican or with a white person, where I shouldn't say with a white person, because mostly it's the white person that if there's any kind of conflict, it's just automatically racist. And I will not get drawn into that, but I find it fascinating how the mainstream media does this tactic. If there's any confrontation whatsoever, I mean, for the most part, we do see the police shootings. That's what they like to focus on. But it seems like if there's any kind of confrontation, it's not an American to an American. It's not like, hey, you're a jerk, Oh, wait, you're black. I guess I can't do that because if you do that, you're automatically labeled a racist. And that's what they want. And it's just incredible. Can there ever be just a conflict? Is because we all know there's jerks in the black race and there's jerks in the white race and there's jerks, with the Latinos, there's jerks with the Orientals. I haven't seen a race on the face of the earth where there's not jerks in every race. And, this lady obviously was being a jerk, just accusing anybody just because she left her phone in the cab. So she's being a jerk. But do we automatically always conclude that that's racist? And of course, the conclusion that I draw is that, no, the MSM is just making this racist. And I almost think that even the black people are just programmed now. They've been, I know not all of them believe the nonsense, but they're programmed to just, if anybody disagrees with you, if anybody, where'd it go? If anybody, hassles you, even just being a jerk, well, it's racism. And that just can't be. That just can't be. I mean, a society will never function. But hey, welcome to the end times. They're dividing us in any way possible. And if you just go through all this, just even on a daily basis, you can see it's political. Look at it. Did you see Lindsey Graham, who got nailed at the airport? A bunch of Trump supporters were just calling him a traitor. It was hysterical. Because actually, and that gets me back into the politics of it all. If this were all true, you would have seen the Republicans stick up for the Republicans, no matter what. But you don't see that. And that's at least one thing that you have to admire about the Democrats. They stick together. They lie together. They cheat together. They will scratch and claw and murder you to win. Now, I'm not saying that anybody should do that, but you look at the liberals and it is incredible. They are conniving, murderous Satanists, but they stick together. And you're like, well, that is a quality that you'd think the Republicans, the conservatives would hold. We stick together. Why do we stick together? Because the liberals will murder you. And guess what? That's what they're doing, because the Republicans would not stick together, because they don't hold the line. And they gave way all to Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. The Democrats, the liberals, pulled out every trick in the book, and they are just bombing it. And they're winning. They're absolutely winning. And it's just unbelievable to watch it unfold. And if you read my community post that I put out there today, I don't say these things because I want Trump to be, to be turning out to be a fraud. I marvel at, well, why didn't this guy ever fight back? This guy never fought back. So many illegal things done. The director of the FBI, James Comey, the dude actually confessed on 60 Minutes that he released classified documents. I served in the military. I had a top secret security clearance back in the 80s. If I got caught, even if I lost a classified document, I would have been court-martialed and sent to Leavenworth like faster than you could eat a potato chip. And here's the director of the FBI. This guy is the example. He is the boss in charge. Confesses on 60 Minutes to leaking classified documents. By the way, that trying to hurt Trump, the most powerful man in the world, and nothing happens to him. You've got to ask yourself, why? Wait, go. And they just blow over the story. Go back to this. Why isn't the Attorney General bringing this guy up on charges? He should have been court-martialed. He should have been tried and put into jail for the rest of his life. The amount of trust that goes into, the amount of trust that you'd think would go into the FBI director should be, you should realize that it is everything. I mean, this is our national security is on the line, and this guy leaked, and nothing happens to him. You got Hillary Clinton, who we have evidence, overwhelming evidence that her and many others, including Steele, manufactured actual lies to create this Steele dossier. And it's proven. They accused the most powerful man in the world, President Trump, of being an actual Russian spy. For 3 years this went on. Spending tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money to try to frame the president of the United States. And nobody is held accountable for this nonsense. Why wasn't Trump directing the Attorney General to bring several people to trial and get some convictions and get some of these people in prison? He never did anything. It is unbelievable. You got, if you remember, Adam Schiff, the little pencil neck weasel who was so utterly disrespectful, manufacturing lies, putting words in the president's mouth over a phone call, which if you heard, was perfectly normal. The president of the United States has all the authority in the world to direct anybody he wants to investigate somebody who's done something illegal, whether it's Biden or not. And they actually impeached him. I mean, like, okay, that's what can you do about that, right? These guys just did it, and Trump put up no resistance. He allowed himself to be impeached. And then you've got Joe Biden, who is on video, the way we used to say is on tape, laughing and chuckling over an actual quid pro quo that he not only actually committed, he bragged about it. He bragged about his very real act of abusing national power to get a ton of money. I think wasn't it in the billions? And where was Adam Schiff there? I know we know the double standard exists. But how does this happen? Why didn't Trump immediately subpoena Joe Biden to testify before Congress and put that guy on trial? It doesn't matter if he's running for president. Here's an actual crime that was committed on videotape, for lack of a better term. And it's everything that Schiff would have loved. That would have made their impeachment that much easier. It wouldn't have gone 3 years. It would have gone about 3 hours. But Trump did nothing. So, all these things, and you're like, well, for 4 years, Trump did nothing. So am I bashing Trump? No, I'm trying to figure out what is the deal here. Why, this is as much a mystery as JFK. This guy, and again, not to knock him for what he was doing with the economy, he was truly knocking it out of the ballpark as far as getting America's economy going. We were all just, kicking it and enjoying it. And we enjoyed the fact that the possibility of a president, who seemingly cared for the American people, for the American workers, for American business. And he was doing it. He got the military, back on track. That part was all good. But when it came to fighting, the guy just got his buttocks handed to him. I'm trying to think of, better words to say it. And now, a lot of people are, well, Trump did this, and you shouldn't bash on. And I'm not bashing. I'm putting the questions out there. Had he fought back, had he just dropped the hammer on anybody that dare challenge him, and I'm talking legally now, he had all the evidence to prosecute and just jail. Put all these liberal liars in jail, and he didn't do it for 4 years. And now what does that leave us with? In the last week, in the humiliation of what happened yesterday, the orchestrated theater that they did, was that yesterday or the day before? I'm sorry. With the Capitol building, they absolutely did that on purpose. You saw the police officers letting the mob in, and they did that with the intention, knowing that they were going to blame Trump and bring it his 4 years in, finish it off in absolute shame. And they succeeded because that's what they did. And now because he didn't fight back, because, for example, who didn't see this coming? I'll give you a quick example. I'll get back to my point. The zombie virus hits last March, right? And we know right away. I mean, if you look at my community posts, even then I was like, hey, if you scroll back, 9-10 months ago when this was all happening, I was putting out posts like, hey, does anybody think that this is just overblown nonsense? And we now even know that the zombie virus has a survivability of 99.69% or something like that. But even back then, you would have thought, if you were Trump, you would be thinking, oh my God, they're up to something. And then they all started talking, well, it's too dangerous for anybody to go in person and vote. That should have been the second red flag. You think Trump would have put out a national referendum, signed something into law where, okay, you want to do mail-in? Let's get some certified ballots, right, with watermarks on them, sent out to actual, so on and so forth. But there's 1,000 things he could have done to ensure a strict vote, including that if you don't have your mail-in ballot in there on the day, in other words, on November 3rd, it will not count. And like, you got time to do it? Good, do it. Because if it's not counted on that day, it doesn't count. Because at whatever time, at midnight, everything closes down. The voting polls close and whoever wins, wins. But he didn't do that. And you got to ask why. Did you not anticipate this kind of nonsense happening? I literally remember, I'm going to go to my profile because I retweeted some stuff. I literally remember in June thinking, and I know all of you did too, oh my gosh, they're going to steal the election with this mail-in. Look how hard Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, AOC, and all the villains, right? Pocahontas. Look how hard they're pushing mail-in ballots. And then right up to the end, Hillary Clinton was tweeting out, telling Biden, don't concede that night, because they all knew it. They all knew it. Well, I retweeted some of this so I could have it. Matt Walsh tweeted, Trump did absolutely nothing. I want to make sure you can see this. Let me scroll up a little bit here. Trump did absolutely nothing about big tech censorship when he had the power to do so. Now the monster he chose not to contain has made its move against him. This is absolutely brilliant, and it's true. Trump had all the power to do it. He didn't do it. And correctly terming this as the monster, even saying he chose not to contain it. And it's absolutely true. He chose not to contain it, and you can't deny that. This is the most powerful man, allegedly, on the face of the earth. Or you know that in that position, the president of the United States has the most power on the face of the earth, and he could have contained all of that. It's amazing. And he didn't do it. So now the result. Here's the result. So why am I so upset about this? Well, now look what we're facing. And again, I don't try to come off, a lot of times I find, myself explaining these things because I don't necessarily want to write off Trump. I wished that he would have fought, because we do enjoy our freedom here in the United States, don't we? We like being Americans. Now, of course, that does not supersede our love for Jesus Christ. Christ is first and foremost. We have an opportunity to live in freedom where we can share the gospel, where we can get out there and street preach. We can get out there and do what God calls us to do. And then you got a guy that just gave it all up on your behalf. He threw us all under the bus. And now we face the puppets that are in there now. And they own both houses. They've got the full majority because they also cheated in Georgia. And so I don't want to sit here and say that, hey, I'm scared. I'm not. I'm more mad than anything. And, it's okay. I'm not talking about like the type of anger, where I want to do violence or hurt somebody. I'm not. But my golly, you can get a little angry when you look at how all of these things went down, and it was all so very avoidable. So even as I left my community post today, I said, either Trump is the biggest wimp that ever lived or ever resided in the White House, or he's in on it all. And at this point, sometimes it's, things get a little confusing. You're like, well, I'm really not sure yet. It's still unfolding. But even as today, the calling for his second impeachment, everybody, he's got a lot of cabinet members that are resigning. His whole Republican, for the most part, the majority of the Republican senators, congressmen, his affiliates have all bailed on him. They've all abandoned him. And now on the 20th, if we make it to the 20th, I don't even know. I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know that no matter what happens, we're going to stand in the truth of Jesus Christ. I know this. And I hope that there's Captain Potato Head, man. See, I get a little torn between when I'm talking about Dana Coverstone, Captain Potato Head or Squidward sometimes, because he looks like both. But either way, we're dealing with actual tyranny. Now, I've been alive for longer than most of you. And by the grace of God, I've enjoyed, 50-some years of freedom in this country. And I'm so grateful to God that I was able to raise a family, a beautiful wife, living in a prosperous country for the most part, and enjoying the freedoms that God has given this country. But this is going to change. And here it is. Here it is right at the doorstep. I mean, we are here. As you watch today, there's a giant deletion. I don't know if any of you follow Don Bongino, political correspondence. They banned him from Twitter. They banned, obviously, Donald Trump. They're banning a bunch of other conservatives. And they're also just shredding their sub count. So with great malice and intention, they're deleting followers because they do not want, for the most part, what could be categorized as Christian conservatives having a platform where they can communicate with each other. So the big thing that was happening was they were sending over, everybody was saying, go over to this new app. It's called Parlor. And they don't censor anything over there. You can say whatever you want. Because we know the big thing with the liberals is their capacity to outright lie, saying that conservatives are violent in their rhetoric. Of course, none of the BLM, none of the Antifa riots where they literally burned down cities and murdered people while live streaming it, right? None of that was violent. And you even had the vice president-elect, Kamala Harris, was paying the bail of the Antifa thugs that were being thrown into jail, people that were shooting and burning and destroying businesses, burning down buildings, Molotov cocktails every night, bricks through windows, attacking innocent business owners and innocent citizens, just causing chaos. And you got Kamala Harris, the upcoming vice president, was paying the bail of actual domestic terrorists. Absolutely astonishing. And now she's going to be the vice president. And then you got old Joe Biden, who can't get his numbers right. I love when he gets on, he's giving his speech, and he's trying to be so passionate, but this guy is sadly Alzheimer's or dementia has set in. And it's sadly comical because even his wife should have, his kids, these people that are supposedly his family that supposedly love him, they should have told, hey, you know what, hubby or dad, you're done. You're just done. Just take the rest of the years you have on earth and just relax and enjoy your retirement. But because of their own personal greed and their future wealth, they're thinking of being, related or married to the president of the United States. That's going to really help them out financially in the future. No, let him go up there and make a fool out of himself. Every time this gaff machine gets in front of a microphone, he fumbles. He goes, I can't believe what I saw at the Capitol building. We saw $257,000 worth of damage done at the Capitol building. No, wait. $27. Somebody lost $27. And it's just cringing to watch this guy speak. Cringing. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be fairly entertaining to watch him over the next 4 years if we go that long. Because every time he gets in front of a camera, there's a guaranteed gaffe. It's coming. Hey, remember the 80s? Yes, this is a real picture. Just retweet some of this stuff because it's so funny. Look at business in the front, party in the back. These were the mullets of the 80s. And girls, how high can hair go? How many bottles of Final Net or Aquanet did this take? Ah, the 80s. Things were so much easier. I had tweeted some other things, I guess, maybe. This was an interesting stat. This is all the total death counts of all the last 10 years. As of 2020, the same amount of deaths, even though we supposedly have a pandemic going on. 2.5 million deaths. That was through November. Pray for the precious babies. This was the scene in Argentina when they legalized abortion. They literally came out on the streets and celebrated. Talk about the end times. Absolutely terrible and sad. Well, Eric, I'm not a tweeter. I barely do anything. I just monitor it because it gives you a feel for what's happening. Just to be a watchman, because you've got to pay attention to what they're doing. How these people are coming to enslave us. And so I want to just, pay attention to what's going out there. But I do like some of the stuff they do. They do say, some of the people that I do follow. Look at here. Twitter permanently bans Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, and QAnon purge. Now, I'm not a QAnon fan. I'm not saying that. But I am a freedom of speech fan. Freedom of speech fan. I do love my freedom of speech. And I don't know how long we're going to be able to do this. Because it seems like they're cracking down fairly hard. I almost want to look at this day. This is the first day that I've really been fairly alarmed at what we're seeing. Again, for those of you, the very reason why I do this is just to keep a finger on the pulse of what's happening. And right now, Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, Mommygram and Daddygram, they're all just purging today. They just started doing it today. And so you look at just what's going on just on the front page of Yahoo. I go through this every day just to see what kind of propaganda they're throwing out there. And of course, the narcissism, some of the stuff is. You can hear Pelosi, this 80-year-old absolute witch, wanting to make sure that Trump doesn't have access to the nuclear codes. As though Trump's going to say, you know what? If I'm going down with a bang, a nuclear bang. I'm just going to randomly pick a country to start nuking and start a war. That's how absolutely dreadful these people are. Just evil people. It's really quite extraordinary, the time that we're living in. But here we are, Friday night. I didn't want to wait till Sunday to talk about this. Because this is just, I think this is kind of historic. You know, they're really just going crazy. And again, you know, I've always noticed also that Trump doesn't react good. In many aspects, many times he could have just kind of done better with answering the accusations. But what he didn't do, again, was he didn't fight back. He should have put a lot of people in jail. And again, not to sound arrogant, but you've got to realize that, you know, and you always try to imagine that if that were you, I mean, don't beat around the bush here. We all do it. We're like, well, okay, if I was in that position, what would I do? If I was the president of the United States and I had been elected the president of the United States, and these people were relentlessly attacking me with very provable illegal documents, illegal testimonies, outright lies, that's called perjury, leaking classified documents, classified information, I would have said, well, first thing I would have done is gathered my national legal team. And I said, we are going to have our own little purge party here. I want this person, this. I want all their heads on a platter, figuratively speaking, for the very intentions that I can't say intention, that's a bad, not trying to use that word. For the very acts that they have committed. Those were truly acts of treason for what they did to this president for the last 4 years. And again, I'm not defending Trump. I'm actually, I'm upset that he didn't fight back. I wish that he would have fought back. He would have been absolutely fantastic. But instead, he did the majority of his, what he deemed fighting on Twitter. But the very simple fact exists that if you're the president of the United States, you're sworn to uphold the Constitution. The president is there to ensure that our capitalist country is not turned into a socialist country. A lot of people are saying, well, they're not even going to go socialist. They're just going to go right to communism. They're already talking about reparations. Reparations. Who's going to pay for that? They just print money out of nowhere. Just keep printing money. And again, not to get into the whole racist thing, but as I try to rationally, even speaking to several black racists who I've spoken to over the last 13 years on YouTube, who, you know, even like, for example, the Black Israelites, their cult, pretty much teaching a doctrine that Jesus is coming back to kill whitey. And it's not, you know, and you try to reason with them. You're like, dude, Jesus is going to save whoever calls upon the name of Jesus, whoever believes in Christ. There's nothing in the Bible that says it's going to be race-based. It's stupid to even say it. It's just so dumb that you even have to say that. I'm sorry. Jesus is not, you know, here comes Jesus. Let's go get whitey. So here comes Jesus, you know, on his horse, cracking the sky through the clouds, and he starts killing white people. It's just, it's ridiculous that you even have to defend that. But the thing that I try to rationally debate when it comes to racism is, and very calmly, you know, because I'm not going to get drawn into this thing. I'm like, well, there's a lot of African Americans that want reparations, but they weren't slaves, and I never owned a slave. I didn't do those things that the white people did before. Does that let me off the hook? Well, I don't know. How can I be prosecuted for a crime I didn't commit? And how can anybody receive reparations for something that they never went through? And you know, I mean, you can go on and on and on. And I know it's a very touchy subject, but I think the country's at a place, or was at a place, where you can make a pretty good living if you work hard and, you know, try, come up with a plan, go to school, get an education, at least maybe in a trade. I know a lot of the universities are worthless, but, you know, I'm talking things like, you know, plumbing school, dental school, doctor, be a lawyer, something where you can, you know, develop a trade and make a ton of money, or even open your own business. It's all there. And some people just don't want to hear it. But either way, I love you, whether you're black, white, Mexican, whether you're Oriental, Indian, doesn't matter. You know, and that's the truth of the gospel. It's the love. Take the gospel out into all the world, Jesus said. Baptize in the name of the Son, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and make disciples. The gospel is for everybody. But when you start getting drawn into categories like race and politics and gender and 100 other things that they want to separate, they want manufactured division because they want you to hate. And half the liberals, you know, I've got this, I've talked before about my one of my best friends growing up. His name is Paul, and I've known this guy since kindergarten, and we grew up through grade school, through middle school, through high school. But he is a bleeding liberal, and he cannot be reasoned with. Cannot be reasoned with. And so we can go about 2 or 3 exchanges. And of course, he's a liberal atheist. But we can go about 2 or 3, maybe 4 exchanges, and then he starts getting mad. And I can't talk about this anymore because you're making me mad. Oh. I know why you're getting mad, Paul, because you don't want to hear the truth. When the truth starts infiltrating, and by the way, that is what the truth of Christ does, double-edged sword, and it cuts deep, that truth, here it comes, and that's when they shut it down. So you can't reason with them. Senator Tammy Duckworth, that's our girl right here in Illinois, demands a resignation of GOP congresswoman who told Trump supporters Hitler was right. That's not helping that lady, is it? It's not the smartest thing in the world to say. You know, Hitler wasn't all bad. He got a couple of things right. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of let you know that although I didn't quite agree with the slaughter of 6 million plus Jews, it wasn't all bad. He kind of, we can at the very least say that he was a hard worker, right? You guys agree with me? Is that a good example? This is dopey. The world is really something to be in right now. And we want to make sure that we're watching The View. The View with Whoopi Goldberg and what's her name, that other Joy Behar. I wonder how that's just to go through life so filled with hate. Filled with hate. Here you go. About 350 Twitter employees wrote a letter to CEO Jack Dorsey demanding that President Trump be permanently suspended. Can you imagine that? Hey, boss. We all got together. And we know we work at Twitter and we enjoy our employment. We're just really outraged at the president. We want to make a formal request that you ban him permanently. or suspend him permanently from Twitter because her feelings are hurt and he just is really, really racist and mean. Can you do that, boss? Can you do that for your employees? You believe that stuff? Whoopi Goldberg, it's so sad. She came out in Star Trek: The Next Generation, and she used to be fairly funny. But then she went full-blown into liberalism. And you can see where when it gets like that, obviously it's under the category of politics, but it's really not, is it? This is a way of life, isn't it? This is a satanic way of life. There are those, and even if I'm just speaking in terms of what's in our country, right, in America, there are those that love freedom. They love working hard, building a life, sweat, blood, tears. Look at Eric there. Eric, are you still there, pal? There's Eric. Eric, I'm gonna use you. Sort of truth. Eric spends his time breaking his knuckles, running his own business. There's times probably when Eric is out late, when he would probably more like to be home, spending time with his kids and his wife, eating a meal together, playing with the kids, teaching them, spending time with his God-given family, but he's got to work. And in America, you can do that. He's out working, again, busting his hump, making the bacon so that he can come home and provide his family and his kids with a future. Probably, maybe, I don't know, but some people start college funds or savings bonds for their kids because they want to provide for their kids in the future. And again, it's an American dream, enjoys that freedom, has the ability. And in between all that, he's probably always thinking about different ways that he can promote his business. Different forms of advertising. Advertise online, put up flyers, get referrals, all kinds of different things to bust your butt, making it and doing a good job and enjoying the rewards that come from working hard. Now, socialism is coming, right? Socialism is, at the very least, socialism is coming. Now, you got a guy like Eric who's going to, at least for a little while, continue to work hard. And all of a sudden now, he's going to be taxed through his nostrils. Say Eric goes out and makes $100,000 a year. I don't know if that's what he's making. I'm just using it just as a number. He's got different expenses that he could claim on his taxes. But now you're going to have these socialists, because socialists don't promote a society where you're rewarded for your hard work. Socialists just want to tax you and take your money and give it to other people who don't want to work, who don't have ambition, who think that everything is unfair. And so they're going to take Eric's money and my money and your money, and they're going to give it to people that don't want to work. People, a good example is obesity, right? People who are disabled because of self-inflicted things like obesity, right? Just as one example. Right? Somebody else just can't get a job and they're working the system. And so they increase government programs like unemployment. And they say outrageous things like unemployment compensation should be quadruple of what it is right now. because we've got to live, right? So just print more money and then take money from those who work hard. Look at the corporations that make billions and they employ hundreds, thousands, right? We'll just tax them, tax them and tax them and tax them. Take all that money and stick it into programs that are designed to keep other social groups oppressed and down. And so no matter how hard you work, you're going to get stuck paying for somebody else's lack of work, for somebody else's lack of ambition, intentional lack of ambition. And just for the record, socialism has never worked. We saw what happened in Venezuela just as of lately, the nearest example. It actually destroys everything. And it's one of the hardest things, like in the last year when they had all the Democratic nominees running for president, a guy like Bernie Sanders, who just thinks that people are just going to sit here and take it. Like businesses are just going to sit here and take it. And that's the stupidity that they can't get past. Businesses are not going to work their fingers to the bone, bleeding and sweating, so that their money can go to somebody else. They're going to, the economy would collapse. For a guy like that to do that, where all his profits are being funneled into somebody else's pocket, they're just going to close up shop and say, I'm not going to work for somebody else. And that's what happens. Taxes go up across the board and businesses fold. And then more people come on. But then what can they do then? They can't do anything. Then the economy absolutely and completely collapses. There's chaos. And they never get it. They never get it. And I think there's just a natural hatred. A natural hatred. The liberals just hate America. I mean, we know this, right? We know this. You can't, just as an example, when you were growing up, the 70s and 80s, and even part of the 90s, even just as kind of a kooky example, like when you'd watch the Olympics, you would always see the crowd, the American crowd would start cheering, USA, USA, USA. And you'd sit at home on your couch with your bowl of nachos and you'd say, yeah, oh, I'm so proud. And you'd see, like an American athlete would win gymnastics or swimming or track. And you'd get goosebumps. And then they'd play the national anthem. And many times the athlete would cry, and then you'd start crying. You're like, oh, it was beautiful, man. It was awesome. America. And you left America. You lived in America. You cheered USA. But now that's become a taboo. Because the new world order is coming. There is no more American exceptionalism. And I think that is dying with Trump. Trump had a great opportunity. And he was succeeding, at least in the economy and the bringing back of jobs. Companies were coming back. Unemployment was down. People had money. But because the liberal left are Satanists and they hate America, they found a way to destroy that. And they found it with a man who simply would not fight for himself. He would not defend himself. You say, well, I like Trump because he fights for the American man. Well, really, where does that leave you now? You don't realize when he doesn't fight for himself, that means he's not fighting for you. He did nothing to preserve his position, to preserve for example, the integrity of the election. He wasn't wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. He wasn't. He did not fight for himself. Had he brought, like, for example, on that first 2.5 years or 3 years when they were going after him as being a Russian agent, if he would have, when finally the Mueller report came and they said, well, no, we don't have anything on him. And Trump could have said, okay, y'all done? Now it's my turn. And he should have just thrown the hammer down and just started subpoenaing everybody, prosecuting everybody involved. And when they cried, look at him, he's a dick. No, I'm not. And you're going to jail because you broke the law. You committed perjury. You falsified documents. You leaked classified documents. You're all going to jail because I'm the president. And you are the ones that did everything illegal. Had he done that, nothing else. They would have not tried anything else on him. And not only would he have brought the most powerful country, or I should say, he would have, again, even according to his slogan, he would have made America great again. He would have made America powerful again. And whether you believe, that he was a diehard Christian or not, we know he's not. But at the very least, he was saying, well, great, religious freedom. He would have done all that, but he didn't fight for himself. So they kept going. What happens when you give an inch? What was it? I mean, what happened there? Like the Mueller report came out. And, no, we didn't find any evidence of Donald Trump being a Russian agent. Okay, hey guys, can we just play nice now? No, we're not going to play nice. We're going to dig up some other made up dirt on you. And we're going to keep coming at you. And that's what they did. They kept coming at him. And he just sat there and took it. Nothing happened. Nobody went to jail. And now we're faced with absolute socialism right on the doorstep here. And now you really don't know what any of this is. You don't know what to believe. Is any of this real? For the most part, it's not real, is it? Okay. As rioters stormed the Capitol, Trump was reportedly telling people he was glad Perdue and Loeffler lost the Georgia Senate seats. Just nonsense. Just nonsense. You don't know what's real, what's not. How many people we got? Oh, that's pretty good. 49 in the chat room. So I wanted to get on tonight because something's happening here. I mean, this is kind of like next level stuff. Trump news. Twitter permanently suspends president as impeachment articles are drawn up. You guys know me. Stand in the truth of Jesus Christ. Don't fear. Right? God is in control. Stand in the truth of Jesus Christ. Be aware of what's coming. And when they do come to your door, witness to them. These people might be taking you to FEMA camp. You don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if they're going to cancel, or shut down the internet. I've heard a lot of rumors out there. They're going to, shut down the phones and the internet. We just don't know how fast it's going to come. But be ready. Be ready when it comes. And don't fear. I tell you this all the time. We're astronauts on this planet. We're just visiting. Your life should be hid in Christ. Look at the perversion in this word. Look at Miley Cyrus says, she decorates her Los Angeles home with sex toys. Hello. Welcome to the end of the world. Welcome to the end times. What absolute perversion. How brilliant was Disney, right? How brilliant is Disney? And you can see their plan for anybody that's paying attention. take a young girl. I don't know how old she was. Was she 10 or 11 or 12 when she started Hannah Montana? I don't know. I don't know how old they are when they start. And they get all these kids hooked on watching Hannah Montana for years and years. And Miley Cyrus, hey, she's the daughter of Billy Ray Cyrus. Down my heart, my achy breaky heart. And then she becomes this celebrity, and teens and all the kids are going to school with their Hannah Montana backpacks and their lunch boxes and their trapper keepers. Right? Is that still a thing? I don't know. I guess it's laptops now. But they're brilliant. They get their stars to just be adored by the entire nation youth. And then one day she's in her teens, a little bit older. Yeah, Hannah Montana's canceled, but guess what? Miley Cyrus has a new album out, and she just goes full-blown horror, even at such a young age. And she just starts whoring it up. And then, all her adoring fans are like, Miley Cyrus is wearing a thong on the American Music Awards and sticking her tongue out. I guess that's okay. We can do that too then. So now she has influenced an entire generation to, taught them how to be prostitutes. And of course, this also happened with the Mickey Mouse Club, with, Justin Bieber and not Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears. They were all in the Disney show or whatever it was. And they all went full-blown prostitutes. Justin Timberlake, just a filthy Satanist. Here we go. Look at Trump aides describe the president as being unhinged and alone, like Mad King George. This is propaganda. This is total propaganda. But it's not funny what's coming, what's going to happen, but it's funny to just watch this. There's so much perversion, so much lying, and so much propaganda. But to see it all happening, it's actually happening. So, and of course, the late night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel calls out Trump's scumbag enablers by name in a scathing monologue. Oh, that's Hollywood, right? Hollywood, just satanic, liberal, God-hating, hell-bound people. Every one of them sold their souls to get where they are. And again, just going over this, just so you're aware of the propaganda. You never know when this is going to come in handy. Somebody, even as you guys know, that I am an absolute opponent of once saved, always saved. But you'll see a lot of people, like for example, if you saw what happened with Justin Bieber, right? Let me go back up here. You saw what happened with Justin Bieber, right? Apparently he was very publicly, good golly, this Keith Olberman tweets a lot. Justin Bieber has officially come out and cut ties with Hillsong. Whereas I'm like, well, who cares? But here's the thing. He's got the followers. And this is the danger when you don't abide in the doctrine of Jesus Christ, even according to 2 John 1:9. When you come out and, a guy like Justin Bieber is like, well, I love Jesus. And he's okay when I go to the bar and, do the dirtiest, nastiest videos. But that's the way that I worship Jesus. And he's okay with that. And so now he's got, 100 million followers who are like, well, that's cool. I like your Jesus, Justin. He's cool with you doing shots at the bar and smoking the doobie and fornicating with whoever you want. I'm not saying that that's him, but it's the lifestyle he promotes. Yeah, Jesus is okay with that. And that's what their doctrine is. So it's really good that he cut ties with Hillsong. Right? Oh my gosh, this Keith Olberman. And that's the thing with Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Here they do a lot of mocking of Trump and the followers, saying that we're the Nazis. If you're a Trump follower, or if you're even a conservative Christian, that you're the Nazis. Oh. See, that's what Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals says. Whatever you're doing, just accuse them of the actual thing. So they call you a fascist, they call you a Nazi, and it works. Apparently works because they got rid of the president of the United States. But we'll find out what's going to happen, right? Here. That's a man, baby. Yeah, Watchmen. I actually have to confess something. I laughed so hard at the Keith Olberman. I call him spaz outs. He does the videos where he just spazzes out. I mean, okay, so one of the funny things about the Capitol building insurrection was when you heard the propaganda on the news, right? When you've watched the mainstream media news, you would have thought that Kim Jong-un just landed with North Korea forces and were like there in person, gassing and bombing and, pouring out zombie juices over everybody. The way that they described what happened at the Capitol. There was one, I think it was Savannah Guthrie on the Today show. This truly is a day that will live in infamy. I mean, do you know where that really came from? I don't even know how many of you remember the Hindenburg, the Zeppelin, the air balloon that burst into flames. I want to say in the 30s. And it's a very famous footage. And then you can hear the guy, oh, it's burning. It's falling. This big Hindenburg that was filled with people was burning and it was falling to the ground. It's happening right now. And one of the statements that the announcer made was, oh, the humanity. Because it truly was a tragedy as you watched, I don't know how many hundreds of people get burned alive in this balloon that was crashing to the ground, just ablaze. And so they want you to believe that this was the same kind of tragedy that happened at the Capitol building. When you watch the videos where the police officers just open the door like, oh yeah, come on in. And these thug Nazi Trump supporters went in and they threw papers off the desk and onto the floor. And they did smash some windows. I saw one guy carrying a podium and some other, light things done for the most part. The saddest part about it was that, the young lady who was shot and killed, unarmed, shot and killed. That's an absolute tragedy. But I even fully believe that the liberal left is so evil that they had put it in the plan book, that they were going to shoot somebody just so they could pin a murder or a death onto Trump to try to shame him further. I absolutely do believe that was included in play, because that's how evil they are. So you had one person that was shot and killed for no reason, mind you. So you're looking at this and you're like, this is propaganda in its purest form. Because while we watched the cities over the last 10 months burn across America, well, we watched these BLM and Antifa take over a couple of city blocks in, I think that was Seattle, and they commandeered an actual police precinct building. They killed people. They wounded people. They set people on fire. They destroyed, but there was no, the humanity there. The humanity didn't come out until they watched people walking through the Capitol. And there was a couple of slobs, sitting at the desk, taking selfies, and they made their way onto the Senate floor. And you had some fake shots. So these senators were like, get me out of here. The Trump supporters are coming. And they have a history of violence, right? Oh, no, they don't have a history of violence. But it's just bananas that that's what they wanted to portray to the public. And it really happened. And they continued with it for days. Still dealing with the aftermath of the most shameful and terrifying event that has happened on U.S. soil since 9/11. Yeah, they did make that comparison, by the way. 3,000 people were, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy of it, but as history wrote it, right? You were to believe that. That's what they'd compare it to. That's what they did compare it to. It's just really something to see. So I just wanted to get on tonight and kind of babble about this. Talk about some other interesting things that are happening, because it is getting pretty interesting out there. And, I didn't have anything scripted tonight. I just wanted to talk about this because you got to be aware of what's coming. You got to be aware of what's coming. And it is going to come pretty soon. It's going to come for all of us. So while you pray today, give thanks to the Lord that today you still have somewhat of your freedom, even though they're locking us down. Tell your loved ones that you love them. Get before the Lord in prayer. Get into the Word and read the Holy Word. And love the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And be ready for whatever may come. We stand in Jesus Christ. He is our rock. He is our defender. And we will cry out unto him. And just don't be afraid, Again, I know I keep saying this, but your life is hidden in Christ. And so no matter what may come, calmly stand in the truth of Jesus Christ. Don't allow yourself to get upset. You can marvel at what's happening, marvel at the propaganda. But even if somebody points a gun at your head when that time comes, say, I stand in the truth of Jesus Christ, and just begin to praise the name of Jesus Christ. And he's with you always, even unto the end. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up tonight, guys. Hope you don't mind my spontaneous babbling. Watch what's happening, though, when it comes to the big tech. Watch what's happening, because there's Keith Olberman again. That's a pretty good sign of what's going to happen to your freedom, particularly your freedom of speech. So when they start really blotting out, YouTube, and that's our main forum that we like to get on, and they're blotting out, Facebook, they're going to really start censoring and monitoring everything you're saying, everything that you're watching. And pretty soon, the only thing you're going to find on YouTube is makeup tutorials and Mr. Beast, emptying a house full of Jell-O on his friend or something like that. So enjoy it while we have it. I'll see you Sunday night. I'll be on 48 hours, a little bit less than that. So stand in the truth of Jesus. God bless you all so much. Thanks for coming on with me tonight. And we will see you soon.